to have amongst us the Honourable Minister of State, Independent Charge for Petroleum and Natural Gas, Government of India, Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan, under whose inspiring and dynamic leadership, the petroleum sector is witnessing growth and forward momentum in India. So we look up to you for your valuable guidance and request you to kindly address us and show us the way forward.
Good morning, friends. President of World Petroleum Council, Dr. Toll, Director General of World Petroleum Council, Dr. Rimmer, senior personnel from World Bank, Madam Anita Jarji, Dr. K.D. Tripathi, not Dr. K.D. Tripathi, our Departmental Secretary, Mr. B. Ashok, Chairman of Petrofed, the sponsoring agency of this council, and Chairman of Indian Oil Corporation, Dr. R.K. Malhotra, leader of the oil and gas industry, eminent session persons and speakers, distinguished guests, members of media. I am very happy to be present here today at this expert workshop organized by Petrofed in association with the World Petroleum Council. Friends, two other major events. One is right now on the move in this capital city of India, Indo-Africa third round conference. In that conference, the primary topic is climate change. At the end of November, the world leaders are coming together at Paris to address the same issue, climate change, self-declared responsibility towards reduction of carbon emission. When two important world forums are talking a pertinent issue, how come this industry will side out from this important topic? I am congratulating World Petroleum Council and local officials of Petrofed and all Indian petroleum hydrocarbon industry to organize this important convention, council and workshop on a very important topic. Friends, in a seminar of this kind, and a person like me, and when somebody like me is the last speaker, it's little bit challenging, it's little bit difficult to give an inaugural speech. Expert like V. Ashok, authority like Dr. Anita, and one knowledgeable person like Dr. Toth and Rimmer are present in the desk. I have a prepared document. I have gone through the topic. Since last 16 months, as a custodian of Indian public policy, primarily in the hydrocarbon energy sector, I have gone through the topic. I will attempt to address the core issue according to our understanding, according to our new government's commitment. Friends, carbon emission management, but climate change is a subject which is great importance to all of us, and its impact is felt in our daily lives. Energy is an inevitable aspect of our life. Within energy, oil and gas is a world commodity today. Nobody can think about a day without hydrocarbon energy. Whether he is moving on a supersonic jet or he is living in a hut in the poorest of the poor part of the world, he has to depend on hydrocarbon. He has to depend on energy. When energy is there, carbon emission is a must. In India, from ancient time, we have been worshipping nature, and it is believed that the well-being of the Mother Earth depends on the preservation and sustenance of the environment. Sustainable living is therefore part of our philosophy. Industrialization, new technology, and changing aspiration of people have brought dramatic changes. These changes cannot be wished away. Mr. Pathan is here. Let me inform one bare fact of this country, what happened in last 50 years. At one of our meetings, once he told, when he joined as a young officer in premier oil company of country, he told me, sir, what did I do in those days? I was selling kerosene by a bullock cart in city like Bombay. Mumbai is the financial capital of India. Mumbai is an important financial point of world. In that Mumbai, 50 years ago, somebody as a young officer in the hydrocarbon sector was selling kerosene oil for lighting, for cooking in a bullock cart. Friends, time has changed. Now we are talking about P&G, we are talking about mass connectivity of LPG in Indian households. So aspiration cannot be stopped. When aspiration is at sky, limit of aspiration is at sky, energy consumption is bound to grow, industrialization is bound to grow. Mr. Reamer was showing one presentation to us. For our common knowledge, for the common people of country, hydrocarbon means, for me also, unless until I came to this ministry as a policy maker, my understanding of hydrocarbon was petrol, diesel, kerosene and LPG, might be ATF. I never thought all the day-to-day household particles were they belongs to the mother point is hydrocarbon sector. So in the developing world, in the aspiring world, this consumption is bound to grow, and when this consumption is bound to grow, carbon emission is a must. But challenge is how do we manage that? The changes can't be wished. However, we must remember the wise words of Mahatma Gandhi. Art provides enough to satisfy every man's needs, but not every man's greed. India is a fast growing economy. Estimates by international agencies including IMF suggest that India is expected to overtake China in terms of GDP growth rate in this year. India is also the second most populous nation in the world. It is therefore natural that the carbon footprint of India would be high. Yet, we should remember that an Indian emits nearly 1/10 of much carbon dioxide as a person from the developed countries. Friends, those who are major contributor to carbon emission now in these days they are preaching more. But India is committed towards its responsibility. We will fulfill our responsibility. We have nevertheless voluntarily accepted responsibility towards carbon emission management. We feel that the most adversely affected by climate change are the poor people of the developing countries like India. They suffer the most during floods, earthquakes, droughts, and even during spells of extreme heat and cold. This is why our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, mentioned last month that the discourse must shift focus from climate change to climate justice. The new government has gone global seeking investments in India's oil and gas sector. We have decided to increase domestic production and reduce import dependency. We have announced many new measures to attract companies to invest in the entire value chain of the oil and gas sector. Hence, we will be more energy intensive in the coming years. However, we are committed to reduce carbon emission across the entire value chain. We will try to increase efficiency and reduce flaring and venting the upstream segment. Madam Anita, we are committed what UN and the World Bank has resolved. India is committed to that goal. India will take the responsibility to fulfill the global commitment. International Energy Agency needs redrawing the energy climate map. Report in 2013 has highlighted that to meet the target of limiting the long-term rise in the average global temperature to 2 degrees Celsius, about 18% of the emission can be reduced by minimizing methane emission from upstream oil and gas production. Enhancing process safety is also important to avoid environmental impact of accident and spills. In this area, oil industry safety directors have signed memorandum of understanding with American Petroleum Institute, which aims at bilateral cooperation in the field of standardization, certification and training in the oil and gas industry. Use of technology to improve HSE is a priority, and I want this to be institutionalized and ingrained in every stakeholder of this industry. Recently, for the first time, we organized a strategic workshop of top executive of the public sector oil and gas companies in India, improving environmental standards, disasters management, and plan to communicate with the local communities were discussed. I have asked our companies to emulate some of the global best practices in upstream sectors. Government has taken a number of initiatives during past 1.5 years which will directly affect and reduce carbon emission. Diesel is the largest single fuel consumed in our country. The diesel price deregulation last year resulted in a shift from diesel vehicles to less polluting vehicles. At the same time, we have progressively improved auto fuel specifications from both petrol and diesel. We already have BS3, which is equivalent to Euro 3 specifications across the country. BS4, the major cities, which will shortly be extended to the entire country. A revised auto fuel policy is on the offing up, which will lead to introduction of BS6 fuel by 2020. To reduce pollution and greenhouse emission, we took the initiative to convert the entire public transport fleet in New Delhi to CNG. Its use is being expanded progressively despite the constant of inadequate gas availability. We have also increased the priority of domestic gas allocation to city gas distribution companies, which will help penetration of gas in cities and reduce use of liquid hydrocarbons. It is our vision to move towards P&NG CNG system for all the large cities and newly coming smart cities in India. This should help reduce local air pollution as well as overall emissions level. We are taking initiatives for converting national highways to green highways where CNG vehicles can have intercity movements. We are also studying the feasibility of using LNG as a transportation fuel for intercity movement in heavy vehicles. Our direct benefit transfer schemes of domestic LPG cooking gas subsidy have been recognized as the largest such scheme in the world of Guinness Book of Records. Another 3.8 million domestic consumers have responded to reduce appeal for giving up their LPG subsidy voluntarily. We are using this money to connect poor households with LPG connections and relieve them from cooking with firewood or biomass, which leads to not only increased carbon emissions but adversely impact on their health. We plan to progressively increase the reach of LPG to 75% of households over the next 4 years. India has introduced energy efficiency standards for not only consumers' products but also industries. More industries are being added to the list in a phased manner and will also include oil refineries. The scheme which has been introduced rewards those who meet the stringent standards and punishes those who do not. Realizing that the cities accommodate nearly 31% of Indian populations and contribute 63% of GDP, our government has launched a smart city mission. The mission will cover 100 cities over 5-year duration. The objective is to promote cities that provide core infrastructure and give a decent quality of life to its citizens. A clean and sustainable environment and application of smart solutions. The smart cities in India would include better public transport, access to P&NG and CNG, energy efficient buildings, and would reduce carbon dioxide emissions substantially. The attention of the world is focused on the 2015 UN Climate Change Conference to be held in Paris from November 30th, 2015. About 85% of the countries have submitted their intended national determined contribution. India has pledged to improve the carbon emission intensity of its GDP by 33 to 35% by 2030 from 2005 level, and to create an additional carbon sink of 2.5 to 3 billion tons of carbon dioxide equivalent through additional forest and tree cover by 2030. The NDC centers around the country's policies and programs on promotion of clean energy, especially renewable energy, enhancement of energy efficiency, development of less carbon intensive and resilient urban centers, promotion of waste to wealth, safe, smart and sustainable green transportation network, abatement of pollution, and India's effort to enhance carbon sink through creation of forest and tree covers. It takes forward Prime Minister's vision of a sustainable lifestyle and climate justice to protect the poor and vulnerable from adverse impact of climate change. India's share of non-fossil fuel in the total installed power generation capacity is projected to change from 30% in 2015 to about 40% by 2030. India is running one of the largest renewable capacity expansion programs in the world. Between 2002 and 2015, the share of renewable grid capacity has increased over 6 times, from 2% to around 13% from a mix of sources including wind power, small hydropower, biomass power, and cogeneration waste of power and solar power. We have scaled up our targets for renewable energy capacity addition from 30 gigawatts by 16-17 to 175 gigawatts by 2021-2022, which will result in abatement of over 326 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent per year. In Ministry of Petroleum, we are making efforts to industry scale waste to fuel projects. In addition, we have launched ethanol blending up to 10% in petrol and biodiesel blending of 5% in diesel. All these efforts will reduce dependency on crude oil. I can assure the audience that the Indian oil companies will play a pioneering role in reducing the carbon emission in the entire value chain and contribute towards making the world cleaner and greener. With these words, I inaugurate this export workshop and wish the deliberations and resounding success. Thank you, friends. Jai Hind.